Hello, welcome. This is SeeWing Yee from the Yee Real Estate Network. And today's presentation, we're gonna go over a big picture scenarios. We're gonna use a lot of assumptions, a lot of hypotheses, and a lot of scenarios, just so you guys out there, investors out there, can apply to your situation. And my special guest today is Mr. Richard Advani. He's one of the leading mortgage advisors in the country. He and his company does investment loans in all 50 states. So he helped investors for many, many years, including our investors, to get financing to purchase properties. He also does, owner-occupied uh, purchases as well, and also refinancing. So with that said, thank you so much, Richard, for to attend this webinar. I know you're very, very busy. So my agenda today is to, like I said, is to sort of play the devil's advocate, play you, Richard Advani. I know you're a very experienced loan professional. You also have multiple properties that you have purchased all over the country for a number of years now. So, but today I'm going to ask you to put yourself in the shoes of a regular real estate investor. So let's use this pretense, if you will. So here you are the typical financial profile of investors that come to my organization to look into risk investing. They work full time, 40 to at least 40 hours a week. Their income level is anywhere from $100,000 or several $100,000 a year. And then their ages are between the age of 40 to 50s, some are even age 60s. They're still willing to buy investment properties, and you have good credit. And the assumption I'm going to use is you have approximately $100,000 to $200,000 of cash available to invest. That means you can parlay this cash into financing. Your goal is to leverage your portfolio with investment loans, in which that's what you do, and do 20 to 25% down payment financing. And furthermore, you as an investor maybe have some additional IRAs of 100 to 200 grand of IRAs. You may wish to invest the IRA for real estate as well. And finally, your goal is you want to retire in 10 to 20 years. You want to have, maybe have 50% of your passive income from your real estate portfolio in the future to offset the earned income, or even use your real estate portfolio passive income money to retire into the sunset for the rest of your life. All right, so this is your financial profile as an investor. So before I will go over the real estate markets that we have for our investors, let's take a step back and go over the high level overview of what's going on in today's market. As we all know, in the past 2 years, it has been record-breaking real estate prices. It's just in a historic way. The housing prices that increased so dramatically in all the areas of the U.S. And right now, here are the challenges. The challenges are, as of this right now, 2021, there are about 1 million houses for sale in the country. However, according to the National Association of Realtors, the country needs 4 million houses, right? So there's a tremendous lack of supply, just a tremendous lack of inventory, as we all know. Let me give one example. The normal market is 6 months of supply, right, Richard? The normal 6 months supply means that demand and supply is at its equilibrium, at its normal market situation. However, if you look at any markets in the country, and I'm going to use Austin, Texas, for example. In Austin, Texas, even though the prices have increased in a big, significant way, there are still only about 2 weeks of supply of inventory in certain county in Austin. This is mind-boggling. So it's just one example. In many markets are the same thing, right? So if there are no more houses that come on sale, in 2 weeks from now, there are no houses for sale in a particular county in Austin. We're talking a particular county in Austin have about 300,000 people and no houses to buy. That's how acute the shortage is. Furthermore, new builders, either they are pausing construction right now because the high lumber costs, right? They're not making any money, so they're waiting until the price of lumber comes down. And we have seen prices recently coming down. So maybe new builders are wrapping up with new inventory. Other than that, the new builds are really behind the 8 ball in supplying the housing market with new houses for sale. And finally, in terms of resales, we may have seen some recent current resales, maybe it's to supply homes or coming into the market, the resales, but it's very slow. And as we head into the summer, based on what I hear, the reason why the mortgage application has dipped a little, and I'm sure since you are a loan advisor, Richard, you have seen that the sales of homes recently, this past month perhaps, has dipped down, and the loan application has dipped down. In my estimation, in my personal opinion, the reason why the sales of homes have dipped slightly as we head into the summer, I believe there are 4 reasons. There are, number 1, buyers fatigue. Number 2, many buyers being priced out of the market because of the affordability factor, and the rising prices of homes. And number 3, many buyers are freaked out. Okay. And finally, the 4th reason are many buyers are being tapped out. Okay. So this 4th definition to me tells me that just people go on vacations also, right? People, because of the pandemic is virtually almost over, people gonna do traveling. They're not using up until now, this past year, people virtually, buyers have they have to spend full time just competing for a house out there, right? Because of multiple offer, bidding wars, and other things. So at least temporarily, buyers are taking a pause. They want to, right? They want to reallocate their time to have some fun, get outdoors, go out of town, go vacations or whatever. That's the reason why. So so that's what we're seeing. Can you have Richard? Can you give me a quick comment you have as to what I just said?
Well, it's hard to give a quick comment because you say quite a bit, but all of it definitely good information. As you noted, mortgage applications have slowed a little, and house prices are kind of at their peak in almost every market across the country. And obviously, affordability is becoming an issue now. So keep it short. I think it is going to drive more and more people back to the rental market, and people that are very qualified, that would have been qualified to buy a primary home. I'll tell you, the best tenants are the ones that can afford to buy their own home, because a lot of times, obviously, they're financially more stable, but also they're going to look after the home.
I totally agree. As a matter of fact, you and I discussed this a number of times recently. Right now, there are bidding wars. There are bidding wars by renters to try to rent a house. That's what's going on out there, and I've seen it with my own investors as well. So in fact, we can talk more about that as we go down. So now, okay, let's get back to the situation. So again, Richard, you are a typical real estate investor today. So you come to my network, right? You like our turnkey approach. So I'm going to share with you a high level, the type of properties we have. And then I'm going to ask you fairly quickly, you provide a quick comment, whether you're considering buying, and if not buying on a particular property within my specific market, why? So just play that role, okay, as an investor. All right, so here are the turnkey products that we have available within our network. The first one I'm going to talk about is Las Vegas. Las Vegas, although we have not been promoting Las Vegas for the past 6 to 8 years because for the rising prices, but surprisingly, the rent has caught up. So much to my surprise, that we have properties in Las Vegas, which is right, very, very close to California, in which you and I live. You live in Southern California, and I live in San Francisco Bay Area, but yes, either here or there. So Las Vegas, the typical homes, single family homes out there, like single family homes, like 320K, 350,000, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,500 square foot. And the rent is like $2,300. So we're talking 5% cap rate and 0.07 of 1% rent to value ratio. So anyway, so if somebody put 25% down payment on an investment loan of 3.7% maybe, right? Is that the right amount? And then
25% down, yeah, give or take.
Yeah. Okay. So your monthly cash flow is around $400. So as an investor, given your financial profile and the goals and objective that you are as a hypothetical investor, would you consider buying a property in Las Vegas at this moment?
Well, with the information that we've discussed in the last week and you just gave me, I'd say absolutely yes. But prior to that, if someone would have said, hey, buying a rental in Vegas, I'd say that's been extinct for 5 or 6 years. So I'd want to see the numbers and the rationale as to why. But as we discussed, it takes a while, but rents have finally caught up to the rapid appreciation Vegas experienced. And now it's actually turning a positive. I like Vegas because it's warm weather. It's highly visited. It's close to me, but even taking the distance out of it, the fact that you can drive there, there's not a lot of wear and tear on properties either. And they make a good market with multiple strategies, whether it's a long-term tenant, whether you decide to do Airbnb in the future. The fact that you can, once again, enter Vegas and have positive cash flow is a huge win, because it's been, 5, 6+ years. Our whole Vegas teams that we used to work with are gone now because there wasn't business to be had, and it didn't make sense cash flow wise. So yeah, I'm pro Vegas for sure.
Well, very good comment. I'm very, very happy you said that. So very good recap on Vegas. So although also in my Vegas realtor connection, he also have multi-units, like older type of rehab multi-units, 4 to 6 units in Las Vegas, selling for 400 to 800K with a 7% cap rate, which is amazing. But we're not gonna talk about that. But anyway, so due to my connection with him, Mr. Glenn Plantone, he has cash flow multi-units as well that he was able to. It's an off market. It's amazing, right, to find something off market, which is not in a multiple listing service, multiple bidding wars and all that stuff. Okay, good. Second market I'm gonna discuss is Buffalo, Niagara Falls. So okay, some investors are thinking, oh, Buffalo is whatever, is not a trophy market. But the reason why we're promoting Buffalo Niagara Falls is because it's part of the Midwest type of geographic type of strategy. It's sort of very strategic. I know the new builds these days in South and Southeast are, the cash flow is quite low relative to everything else. And some investors may not like the low cash flow to buy new builds. But in order to offset, when an investor want to buy, of course, I promote the situation where if you want to truly retire as a real estate investor, you need to buy multiple properties over time. So having said that, so Buffalo Niagara Falls is a strategic way for investors to balance their portfolio, if you will, because of the very, very high cash flow situation. So typically, Buffalo Niagara Falls very well. So a typical duplex, a turnkey duplex, I know it's quite old, but it's been rehabbed, it's turnkey, everything has been updated, new roof, new electrical system, new boiler, new air conditioning, everything, and a tenant is there. You can buy a single family home for like $55,000 in Buffalo Niagara Falls, rents for $750. So the cap rate, we're talking like 7%. So the returns are, the cash flow very high. And duplex, we have totally turnkey rehab with tenants in place for like $60,000. and he rents for $1,000 on both doors, both units. So we're talking a cap rate of 8%, cash and cash return of 20%, and the net monthly cash flow is around $500. I mean, this is mind-boggling numerical metrics. And furthermore, as a matter of fact, you and your company have financed multiple of our investors over the past 3-4 years in our turnkey provider, Buffalo Niagara Falls market. And you're willing, many lenders, most lenders are unable or unwilling to finance such a low price home financing in Buffalo, meaning that when our investors finance a $55,000 or $60,000 single family home or duplex in Buffalo Niagara Falls, your company can do the financing, can do the appraisal most of the time correctly. So our clients pulled up like their total out of pocket like 15, 20 grand, and they're able to achieve $500 monthly net cash flow. We're talking a high return. So, you know, there's a important strategy as well. So quick comment, Richard, if you were a risk investor, given the numbers that you see, which is mind-boggling cash flow and cash on cash return and good rental value ratio above 1%, what would you, as an investor, buy Buffalo Niagara Falls to balance your portfolio over time, knowing that is not an appreciation market, it's really very, very high cash flow market. So how would you decide on that? Oh, I cannot hear you. I cannot hear you, Richard.
There we go.
Oh, okay. All right.
It's on mute. Like you said, it's very important to have a balanced portfolio. And while we've all done very well with these markets that, you know, appreciate a lot and wow, still actually give a lot of cash flow, if you are entering into retirement, it's very important, obviously, to, I'm gonna call. Sorry about that. It's very important, obviously, to still have cash flow and capture that part of the business. And, you know, I think the most important thing to note with high cash flow markets, and I own properties in them as well, is, you know, knowing what you're getting into with them and knowing they're going to take a little more work, but the cash out and the payoff in terms of return and actual cash flow is well worth it. And a lot of my clients who are in retirement, and if I was heading into retirement, I would definitely want a good balance of cash flow properties versus the appreciation properties, because at the end of the day, appreciation is great, but appreciation doesn't pay for your dinner or pay for your mortgage payment. So I'm definitely pro. As you know, I own a property in Buffalo as well. So I definitely like it, and I think it's very important to, as you said, have a balanced portfolio. You know, having some in Vegas, having some in high cash flow markets, I think is a good strategy.
Okay. All right. Great comment. Okay. The next market that we represent, I'm going to share with you, is Alabama. We have a great turnkey provider in Alabama, Spartan Invest, Marie McCann. I don't know whether you've spoken to her or not.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she has some great products. Her company is great. Everything's turnkey, everything, you know, one-stop shop and all that, in-house property management, you know, the whole 9 yards. So she have resales, you know, all these past few years for our investors. You know, typically, you know, it's sort of a hybrid market. Alabama is not purely cash flow, but it's not purely appreciation market either. It's sort of right in between. And the price point, you know, is not very low, it's not very, very high. So it's a good middle ground for some investors that want to diversify into a hybrid market, such as Alabama, because, you know, it's a low price, you know, the resales, you know, built in 1950s, 1960s, all rehab, all turnkey and all that is only about 100 grand. So with 100 grand, with a rent of $900 monthly, you put 20% down payment, you know, you can get a couple $100 monthly cash flow. So that's a nice balanced portfolio. But one new product is coming on board in Alabama is new construction. You and I know new construction is so challenging these days, right? Because of the lack of inventory, the lumber skyrocketing and lumber costs, you know, causing the new builders to increase their prices so dramatically in the past 12 to 18 months. So the new builds we have in Alabama coming up in the next few months, which we're very excited about, is like $220K, you know, 1,300 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, around $220K. He rents for like maybe $1,450, $1,500 Cash flow is not that great, but hey, not where else in the country where you can buy a new build these days for investment only like 200 grand, which is, so you put 20% down payment, you can have a monthly cash flow maybe around 200, maybe $300. So having just shared with you the mixture of resales that we have in the Alabama market and the potential for new builds. If you were an investor, how would you look into this market and would you pull the trigger in this market?
You know what, as we were kind of talking about earlier, having a balanced portfolio, owning properties in Texas, owning properties in, higher cash flow markets like Buffalo. I agree with you that I feel like, Spartan's market kind of combines both of that into one market. You have the new construction, you have the higher cash flow and growth. I've been working with their team on and off for 6 or 7 years now, and they have tons of return clients. So yes, to answer your question, I think it's tough for me because I'm definitely, sorry, I got a call that came in. I'm a buyer in every market, as you can tell.
Right.
It's about diversifying. It's about spreading your risk between various markets and also, capturing growth of the various markets. So, I don't think we're going to discuss one market that I personally wouldn't look at. Do your diligence, as we all do, and buy the right properties within the market. And that's where, SeeWing and his team come into play. But I actually don't own any in Alabama yet. But now that they're coming in with this hybrid product, I'm definitely a buyer.
Yep, good. Very, very well said as always. Wow, you are giving some great answers, and that would something that's going to help our investors, whether they are newbies, whether they are experienced. Hearing from you on this hypothetical Q&A that you are having is really. I think I'm glad I put this topic together for you and I. So once again, Richard, I couldn't say, but really appreciate your time every week to do a podcast with me. One thing before I forget, all the market we've been promoting, especially since the pandemic, for each investment home that our investor closes, this is really true. And we are getting like 20 to 30 rental applications per house that we're closing. So any investors out there thinking, the biggest risk of owning rental homes buying out of state is, what if I wouldn't get the tenant? What if the quality of the tenant is bad? What if the tenant will trash our house? We're not seeing any of these at all the last couple of years. Even even before the pandemic, we already have 10 or 15 rental applications per house. So we find the highest quality tenant. Our property managers are pre-screening. Obviously, we get the nitpick. We get to pick the one we want the most. And a lot of tenants, they're willing to stay around 3 to 5 years, believe it or not, before they can afford to buy a house, if they were to buy a house later. So the tenant market, the rental market is the strongest ever in history. Ever since I've been doing this. I mean, I'm sure Richard, you'll agree. So right now, as a landlord, wow. I mean, what a great time to buy, knowing that in the next 10 years, as a landlord on a one particular house that you're buying in an area that we're promoting, I mean, all you need, think about it, Richard, all you need is like 3 or 4 tenants. All you need is about 3 or 4 good tenants in the next 10 years. Let the tenant pay your rent. Let the tenant pay down your mortgage, right? Let the tenant make you rich. I mean, is this a great scam or what? I hate to say the word scam, but I mean, what other way can you become to make money, that other than being a real estate investor? So, Richard, quick comment on this, on the value, the amazing time to become a landlord, investor, and knowing that you're getting some great tenants for the foreseeable future. I mean, what more can you ask for? That can mitigate your risk tremendously. But quick comment on your part, Richard.
Yeah, and I'd say the main thing I want to hit on is what you said. I've never seen anything like it right now with the rental demand and the housing demand in general. And just to think about something very simply to simplify things, there's more and more people on this earth every single day being born. People are living longer, and the earth is not growing in size at all. In fact, the ocean's taking some of it back. So if you look at that in the grand scheme of things, and really basically, in my mind, there's no way housing and real estate's not going to continue to be a good investment over the long run, because it's supply and demand. And when you're dealing with increasing demand, i.e. more people on this earth, and limited supply, i.e. the earth not growing in size, except maybe in Hawaii on those rough years, it's going to be a good investment.
Yep, totally agree. Okay, let's move along. Let me share with you some other markets that we're presenting. In Austin, well, I have to be careful how I'm going to say about Austin. In Austin, some of our investors, we've been promoting Austin, Texas for the past 10 years through Ken Renner, but our investors, they bought in Austin like 3 years ago, single family homes in Austin 3 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. Guess what? Their property have more than double. I repeat, their property have more than double in price in a mere 3 years. I remember very, very clearly, Ken Renner and I represented Austin 3 years ago. Those new construction outside Austin, in Manor, in Kyle, in a few other places outside Austin, 10 miles away from Austin, we're selling for like $150,000, $170,000, brand new single family home, 1,700 square foot. That 170K property, some of the investors bought 3 years ago, they are probably around $400,000 today. Just one quick example. So what does it mean? Some newbie investors thinking, oh, right now, Austin is so overheated, so at the top. I have just this past year, some county in Austin already grew like 30 to 50% appreciation in 1 year, this past 12 months, mind-boggling. So having said that, okay, does that mean, does that mean that investors should not buy in Austin Metro anymore because of this, bubble situation in Austin? No, because I'm not asking you to buy inside Austin where the median price of homes around $550,000. Used to be like $200,000 like 5 years ago inside Austin. So they're still in the outskirts, in a suburban area, like in Temple, Texas, New Braunfels, or even Killeen, Texas, like 1 hour away from Austin proper. You can still buy a home for $200,000. New construction, if you can find them, we find them because we have a network of builders that sell to our investors that got $200K, new $220K, 1 hour north and 1 hour south of Austin, still rent for $1,700. You can still cash flow with 20% down, so $300 net. So, and then we're promoting San Antonio. Oh my goodness. The median price of San Antonio right now is like $280K. The median price of Austin, like $500,000, depending on what county. And they're only 1 hour away. So what we have seen, we're seeing mass misdirection, mass reallocation of people moving into San Antonio because the affordability factor is so much better in San Antonio than in Austin Metro. So what I'm seeing, I'm going to see a epic migration of buyers and investors are targeting San Antonio as we speak. And the new build construction that we have, the builders that we have, Richard, are those homes are almost completed. The homes that we're selling for $220K, $240K new construction in San Antonio, I mean, those homes are completed. Why they are so cheap? They're so cheap right now, relatively speaking, is because they did not have to go through the lumber price increase. Well, those homes are already almost done before the sudden increase in lumber prices. So you buy it below market value. So, and rents are like $1,550, $1,600. So San Antonio is going to a tremendous boom. $220K rent for $1,600. You put 20% down payment. You should get a $250,000 monthly net cash flow. And the San Antonio right now, there's only 1 month supply of homes. 1 month supply of homes. So it's a fast moving market. It's up and coming. So having said that, you as an investor, given your goals, as we discussed, hypothetically speaking, would you take the plunge in San Antonio, Texas right now?
Yeah, absolutely. Once again, analyzing what your individual capability is to buy a property that is going to be break even or have some negative cash flow obviously is important. Those types of investments are going to vary from person to person. I'd say, and I think you would agree, a lot of people we see buying those types of properties, which is a lot of our clients, are more doing it for asset placement and asset protection. It's a good place with inflation. If you've got money sitting in the bank, it's losing money and in certain investments. So obviously placing that money in a high quality, secure investment that is going to generate revenue overall, I think is a positive. And also, once again, it's for more asset placement and growth than obviously clearly that's not a cash flow play. It's a wealth building vehicle, I would say, secure wealth building vehicle, which is a good hedge against inflation versus having money liquid or, somewhere in the securities market that's very high right now already. We're actually seeing more and more investors buy those types of properties, and, they're putting a lot more down. They're putting 40% down, 50% down. That way they do make a cash flow. Right. But once again, they're not trying to collect that income, and they are trying to hedge against inflation and once again, finding somewhere secure to put funds. That way they don't get eaten up by what's happening in the market right now.
Absolutely, well said. Okay, now, thank you. Now, let's segue to Florida. Florida, as everybody knows, is the number 2 fastest growing state in the country. I think number 1 is Texas. Number 2 is Florida. For a lot of good reasons. So in the future, Florida will be tremendous. Everybody's moving there. A lot of jobs and population growth in Florida. We've been working the Florida market for many, many years. Our network, Central Florida right now, our new construction, Jim Gillum, she's not selling the new builds to turnkey investors because their portfolio of new construction, Richard, just so you know, is they're selling to syndication. They're selling to hedge funds. They're selling to those institutional funds from Wall Street. Wall Street hedge funds are buying this bulk. The entire community of new construction are being sold all cash by these huge institutions. So mom and pop investors that you and I work with, we are being shut out of this market. Not only that, home buyers, not only with what's going on with Jim Gillum in Central Florida, but many new builds community throughout the country, they are selling to, the Wall Street is coming into Main Street, if you will. Meaning those Wall Street hedge funds with big pockets, deep pockets, are just buying in bulk this 500 house new community entire being scooped up by this large institutions. So what that means is it just exacerbate the low supply of homes, right? For the people that want to buy them, like, owner-occupied buyers and investors alike. Now, that's why we are still continue to see low supply and high demand for a number of years to come. So I don't see any crash or correction or bubble, whatever people have been talking about all the time, those YouTube entertainers out there. But anyway, okay, I know we're running out of time, but give me about 10 more minutes. I got a couple more markets. In fact, I'm going to combine the other market. I'm sure it'll be the same situation. We're also promoting Cape Coral. Cape Coral, $320,000 new build single family home rented for $2,200. Very good numbers. Higher price, but along with that, higher rent because people making $70,000, $80,000, $90,000 salary, they are unable to buy because no homes to buy. They can't buy because they have no down payment, not enough down payment, or bad credit or whatever. They're becoming tenant, as you and I discussed, and they are fully capable of paying $2,200 monthly rent to rent your home, the home, and a 320K single family home, 1,500 square foot. Not only Cape Coral that we have some great experience with, but in Central Florida, once we restore Central Florida in a not too distant future, same thing, higher price, sure, but the rent should match So therefore, cash flow is very possible. And finally, Richard, I know you're busy multitasking. and finally,
Always.
and finally, and we
I don't
have,
think it shows me multitasking. Only you can see it. It's when I talk that the camera focuses on me, right? I'm pretty sure when I watch them back.
yeah, I'm not sure actually. I have to play my video to. I'm
Yeah,
not sure actually.
hopefully it doesn't, because then it'll show me doing lots of multitasking every call. But I'm pretty sure it only focuses on who's talking.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, whoever talks, yeah,
Fingers crossed.
the camera picks up whoever talks, and the other ones they don't pick it up the video. Anyway, last but not least, we have a market in Raleigh, North Carolina. I used to promote Raleigh, North Carolina back like 6-7 years ago, but at that time there was no cash flow because the rising appreciation. But now we're back because the Apple is building a huge campus in a Research Triangle Park. The really high tech mecca of the East, I call it. So Raleigh, Chapel Hill, Durham, North Carolina, and even Charlotte, an hour and a half below Raleigh is booming. Is a high tech mecca. So with Apple going there, and a lot of high tech companies moving into the Raleigh market, we're seeing some tremendous booming situation going on. So but however, there are single family homes that we're targeting within 10 to 15 miles from the Research Triangle Park. They are already like 300 to the 400K. Single family home, 3-bedroom or 4-bedroom, 2-bath, like 1,800 square foot. So we ask our investors to buy close to the Research Triangle Park. The inventory is very, very limited. There are multiple offers out there. The offer will be more severe later this year. But right now, there are about 10 offers per house, which is so far so good. I mean, but the house is like 300, 400K, very nice neighborhood, very excellent school district. And the rent is around $2,000. So again, break even. So you're not going for cash flow, you're going for equity play in the Raleigh market. But we expect the next few years, you may have double-digit appreciation. That's the strategy for our investors. Cash flow break even, maybe a slight negative, depending on whether you're buying 300K home or 400K home. The ideal place, like I said, close to the Research Triangle Park, 10, 15 miles away in Cary, Morrisville, and Southeast Durham will be the ideal area because of high-tech growth going on there. So with that said, again, if you are representing a typical investor, would you be open to target that market given what's going on?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, given all the growth factors that are happening, I think it's one of those markets that, even though there wasn't cash flow 5 years ago when you were promoting it, obviously we all should have bought, because what happened was that prices went up even more, so cash flow got even less. But whoever bought obviously was very happy. And now cash flows have increased as rents have gone up, so it's making it, of course, a viable market again. I think from the research I've done, I don't know anything in Raleigh at the moment or in that Raleigh-Durham area, but the growth that it's seen isn't from some short-term factor. Obviously, you've got a lot of big tech companies coming there. They're continually attracting new companies in, and obviously the real estate market there is booming because of it. But that growth is organic growth, is real growth, and in my opinion, it should be sustainable. So yeah, I'm absolutely a buyer.
Okay, now we have, thank you. Now I have 5 minutes. Let's recap. Okay, let me give you my perspective. Let's recap. You and I do not have a crystal ball. We are not economists, right? But let's do some projection. So I'm going to ask you. Well, I'm going to give you my thoughts first. In the next 3 to 5 years, what's going to happen to a U.S. real estate market? I know every market is different, right? I hate it when people paint the picture of the real estate market. Every specific city, every specific neighborhood, every specific market is a little bit different than others. So having said that, here's my crystal ball prediction for the next 3 to 5 years. Because of the because of there's still a tremendous imbalance between supply and demand. So if you talk, if you take a step back and look at economics 101, the fundamentals, right? If you talk rational, if you talk an educated person, at any time there are more demand than to supply, prices will go up. So the people can talk about, oh, there's going to be a crash, there's going to be a correction, there's going to be a bubble, whatever. We're not going to go into that. We're going to take one more hour to talk about that. But I feel the market that we have, that we're promoting is very resilient. We believe, the supply will slowly come back. So the appreciation will be not as great as we have seen in the past year or so. So in the market that we're presenting, Cape Coral, Southwest Florida, tremendous market. And then Central Florida. Florida is always will be a great market for the foreseeable future for investors. So Florida is excellent. I believe there'll be a double-digit appreciation, at least for the next couple of years, maybe 10, 13, 14% in the next couple of years. Then after that, when supply of inventory catches up in Florida, they will get back to a normal stabilization of the market, maybe 1, 2, or 3% appreciation toward the future. Same thing with North Carolina, Raleigh. Same thing with Texas. And then Alabama, we see a lot of good uptick because Alabama prices is a very, very low, have a lot of room to grow in terms of cash flow and appreciation. Is a hybrid market, which is good. Is under the radar for a lot of people. The mainstream media is under the radar in Alabama, but I believe it's up and coming because especially with Huntsville, Alabama is a rocket city, high tech, government tech, a lot of high technology, government and private industry in Huntsville, Alabama. We have new construction there. And of course, Buffalo Niagara Falls will always going to be a very stabilized market, always could be renters there, not much appreciation, although we have seen some appreciation in Buffalo Niagara Falls, which is similar to everywhere in the country, obviously. So that's the balanced portfolio. So if as an investor is very different than owner-occupied buyers. You see a lot of YouTube channels. They the way they present, about real estate is like they have a big picture. They talk about home buyers and owner-occupied buyers, but you and I talking about investor, which is a very, very different ball game, as you know, Richard. Is we have to look at the numbers and the price point and all that stuff. So I see. So as long as our investors think long term. As long as our investors, it's good to buy now. It's never the wrong time to buy investment property for investors. As long as you have a good team behind you in each market. As long as you know that the property manager that we have in place will get your property rented most of the time, very high occupancy rate based on the tremendous so many people renting these days. To think long term. Investors do not, have this short term thinking. Do not be overwhelmed and paralyzed by all this negativity around in the media, right? Or the doom and gloom scenario. Focus, show discipline. As long as your property gets rented, as long as your renter, your tenant is paying your rent, and you have receive a little bit of cash flow or more cash flow. That's all you care about, right? Just stay, just stay the course. Don't get emotional. Think like a business owner that you are. Think like a real estate entrepreneur that you are. Focus for the long term, right? And just balance your portfolio. Have some cash reserve, and just stay the course and get the cash flow, and you'll be fine. And 10, 20 years later, you're gonna feel good that you made a right decision today. So this is my summary. So Richard, give me 1 minute high level recap, and we're done with this presentation.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the fundamentals on which the housing market has grown this time around versus the prior crash, 12, 13 years ago, is a lot stronger than it was, right? When we had the last crash, people were getting homes with a heartbeat and a 750 credit score. And, you had no employment needed, no assets needed, and we were inevitably heading for disaster. And then with Dodd-Frank, obviously all the regulation around lending now and how we calculate people's ability to repay their debt has definitely clamped down. So, the housing market right now and the steam behind it is all coming from a healthy place, and it's been organic growth. Whereas, once again, what happened before was not a lot of negligence that led to the growth. This time, there's none of that, right? Housing has always been a good play in the economy, and I think what we've seen in the last 5 or 6 years is the increasing demand versus supply. I mean, they've been talking about it forever that we're not building enough homes versus how many buyers they are. And there's been little action towards that, especially because of the crash, right? A lot of builders weren't building for 4, 5, 6 years. And now that they are, there's so much of a backlog that, I don't see the demand decreasing anytime soon. I don't see the supply dramatically increasing anytime soon, which means hopefully we should have a pretty strong, robust market, even 3 or 4 years from now. Now, are we going to have, I was just reading the news this morning, like some markets are seeing 12%, 15% appreciation in the last 12 months. And are we going to continue seeing massive amounts of appreciation that we've seen the last couple of years? Probably not. It'll probably slow down. But does that mean there's going to be a retraction? I don't think so, based on, and I'm in the obviously lending business, so I'm seeing the types of loans or really the types of people that we're giving loans to, and the amount of blood samples we have them provide to get that loan. So I'd say I'm pretty confident myself, and I'm continually investing in real estate also.
Very well said, as always, Richard. I mean, as a loan advisor, you have a pulse of the Fed, the Federal Reserve. You keep track of what's going on, of the changing dynamic of the interest rate, and how the policy are being implemented by the government and what have you. So in the future podcast, we may want to talk about the Federal Reserve, the Treasury, and the mortgage-backed securities, how those interplay of those the system impact the mortgage rate, which eventually will impact the retail investors out there. So that's your expertise. We'll talk about that some other time. But I really appreciate your time. This is a very comprehensive real estate education that you and I have been providing. Hopefully, you are receiving value for investors out there, right? Because investors need to be informed. Real estate investors need to get the true, real information from experienced investors like you and I and our organization. So investors need to surround themselves with a team of advice to help them buy out-of-state turnkey, remote passive real estate portfolios and all that stuff. So this is what we do. We've been doing it for a long time. We understand the market. We tell the truth. We don't overhype, or we don't tell. Everything we come through our experience, right? Everything we say and do, it comes from the horse's mouth. We've been there, done that. So anyway, thank you so much for your time. Richard Advani from Supreme Lending Investment Loan Agent. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for everyone for attending. Have a nice day. Goodbye.